Good morning. Good morning. All right. So I'm Betsy Sinclair. It's my pleasure to welcome you and do the rah-rah this morning. I'm really excited that you're all here. Thank you for your travel, especially during the government shutdown. For those of you who had extra delays at the airport, I really appreciate you making it out here. I get to tell you, I get to start today with a story. And it's how I got interested in elections. I was an undergraduate math major. I was sure that my career was going to be in mathematics. I had watched a lot of episodes of Square One TV, and I was just sure that I was on the right path. And the National Science Foundation had actually funded me to do a long summer of student research. And I thought at the end of 9 weeks, when I had solved my math problem, I had won the best undergraduate presentation at the Mathematical Association for American meeting called MathFest, and my paper was under review at a peer-reviewed journal. I had found my way, except for the following fact: I didn't like it. And I thought, wow, this is a bad place to be, because I was on the glide path for what I was pretty sure was going to be a really successful career as an actuary, and then I just didn't know what to do. But at the same time in my life, the amazing thing happened. It was right after the 2000 election. And the LA Times wrote this long story about this inspiring team that had emerged, a team up of the Avengers, basically, faculty at Caltech and MIT who were going to work to basically save American democracy through the careful study of election technology. And I thought, that's something I could get behind. So I wrote unsolicited emails to every single faculty member who was listed on all of those rosters, and only one person wrote back, actually. And I said, I am an undergraduate math major. Here is my math research paper. I really want to work on this project. How can I how can I work with you? Could I meet with you? Do you have any funding for summer research? One person wrote back and he actually said, no, there's no funding whatsoever. And I thought, I'm in. I wrote him back right away. And I said, you know what? That's okay. There's no funding. I don't mind. Could I just come and meet you? And he wrote me back and he's like, I'm a very busy person. And I was like, that's okay. I'm on campus a lot. This was not true. And I was like, but I will meet you anytime for just 15 minutes. And he's like, fine, you can come for 15 minutes. And at the end of 15 minutes, I had a summer job. And off I went to go work with Mike Alvarez on the Caltech MIT Voting Technology Project. And it's launched what has been now, I think, 20 years of really, inspiring research. And the reason that I'm not a math major and I'm a political scientist, because I like to work on problems that matter. And I think most of you are here because you care about that too. And so I think, last January, Mike and I had this realization that we wanted to have a conference about this. We wanted to sort of think about how we could capitalize where we were in terms of thinking about elections right now in our country. And we had planned sort of a medium-sized, modest endeavor. And then there were California wildfires, and we couldn't have the conference. And although we were really disappointed to have to move the meeting to a Zoom format, we then took that opportunity to share the meeting online. So I put it on X and Facebook and LinkedIn, and we emailed a whole bunch of our friends and said, hey, if you want to come, feel free. And next thing you knew, we had 300 participants who wanted to come to our meeting, and we thought, oh, we're onto something. There's actually a lot of enthusiasm for this topic. And so this meeting is the second version of that meeting. We've actually come together now in person, I think in part because there's actually a real value in having people come together. There was a lot more interest in this meeting than we could accommodate today. But we've tried to keep this meeting small because what we want to do is we want to have a specific kind of conversation with you. And I think it's actually the moment to celebrate here is that there is so much interest in this topic, that so many of you wanted to come. It gives me a lot of hope. And I keep thinking like, okay, what's the shared dream here? What's this shared vision? And it's the idea that you can get a community of people together and we can actually take what we care about so much, democracy, and we can make it better. And this is one of the promises of democracy. It's worth noting, remembering that I'm an academic, that when we talk about democracy, that Plato referred to democracy as a charming form of government, full of variety and disorder. And that's not a great quote when we're thinking about elections, variety and disorder. But pretty seriously, I think there's a tremendous amount of power in a shared vision. And when a community comes together, where we can meet the needs of voters so they can cast ballots and understand elections, where election officials can actually do their work unencumbered by misinformation, whether that misinformation stems from bots or bad actors or interference from foreign governments. And so I think the question of today and the challenge of this meeting is, how do we get there? What do we get out of today? And I think we do it through conversation. And so the advantage of this in-person meeting is the opportunity to be tremendously vulnerable about things you don't know. So where you might feel like you need to be a little more poised on Zoom or online, hopefully in these round tables, literally they are round tables that you are sitting at, you will have conversations where you say, I'm stuck here. I'm wondering about this. Have you ever had this problem? And that a lot of those conversations with our very different kinds of backgrounds are going to help us come up with some solutions. So the goal of this meeting is to be a very noisy meeting. We have people from really different backgrounds who have come together as a community here. This is not an only academic meeting. It's also not an only practitioner meeting. So we have technologists, election officials, and academics in the same space. And the challenge of that meeting is we need to use a common language, which we need to be really careful about jargon. So if you're going to ask a question about standard errors, you better explain what that is first. But I think the goal here is to come out of this meeting with some new friends, some people you say, I think I could trust them. Let's see if we can work together. There are two people I want to really thank for being here who came. We have the former U.S. Election Commissioner, Paul DeGregorio, who also served as the former Director of Elections in St. Louis County, who I got to meet this morning. And we also have the current Director of Elections for the Missouri Secretary of State's office, Christy Peters. It's pretty, thank you. It's like, this is a conversation that can really have impact, friends. So let's take it seriously. Yep, Paul's right there. So across the United States, we've seen really declining levels of trust in universities. And my charge here is to articulate what I think is a core value of WashU, which is that we are really driven to work on some of the most pressing problems of our age. And we've convened this group, Mike and I together, to make sure we have elections that are not full of variety and disorder, but rather supported by research and by shared dialogue across these really different communities. In terms of logistics, again, we had many more people asked to come than we had space. So one of the things I think we can do at the end of this meeting, we would really like to record your presentations and share them out. In order for us to do that, you have to do two things. One is you have to sign the media consent form, and Mariah has that form. And two, after we have recorded your presentation, you have to reply to my email and say that it's okay. So I will be in touch with you about that. You know, this is a chance for us, I think, to really have impact in our work here today. All of our conversations are going to happen in this room. Our poster session will happen in this room and the hallways. It's the only thing that's happening today in this space, except for meals, which will happen in the dining room. There is an endless supply of coffee and also snacks that is also out this way towards the back. So like if you are like, I just really need another cup of coffee, just get up quietly and go get it. That's fine. Later today, there'll be sparkling water and there'll be candy and that sort of thing. So like if you just need a little bit of sugar or you need a little bit of food, it's right around the corner. We'll have a poster session this afternoon with basically like some appetizers and some drinks. And so please come to talk. I'm going to take the speakers to dinner if you're not one of the speakers. Then I'm going to recommend that you walk to the Del Mar Loop, which is like half a mile away. I went to Salt and Smoke last night. I thought that was really fun to get barbecue. And this meeting wouldn't be possible without the following two people. So we're about to do a gigantic round of applause, but I'm going to explain why, which is that we started planning this conference in June with a weekly meeting from Mariah and Michelle. And they have done an insane amount of work for this meeting. I mean, it is wild how many things they have done. I believe that Michelle didn't get any sleep the night before, and I got an email from Mariah at like 4 in the morning this morning. So the fact that you all have name tags, programs, parking validations, you know, all your tables were set up, that there's been so much high quality effort in logistics. It's Mariah and Michelle. So let's give them a round of applause. All right, my last thing is to just thank our donors. This meeting is supported by the Political Science Department here at WashU, the Wiedenbaum Center, and the Frick Family Foundation. And so thank you to our donors for helping us. Okay, and with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mike.